Here we go then. We've had a bit of a lead up to the farce and a bit about what it's about. Some of it I found on Spotify this morning, which was quite interesting. So, maybe it's time we got down to the nitty gritties. So, as we sort of move in towards Dublin anyway. So, setting the scene then, the elderly lady stepped off the bus and looked at her new surroundings. She had travelled a long way to get here, since she was 18 years old, in fact, and now she was 62. Well, actually, I'm 71 now. I found out this some time ago. She would also know she had an affinity with Ireland, but didn't know why. It had only been the year before when she discovered it through a DNA test. As she was from both sides of the border and an ex-army corporal, she wondered how this staunchly loyalist area would accept her in Portadown. So the lead character was living quietly in a housing association property in Portadown, having endured abuse at the hands of her ex-partner and won a high court case in Belfast. A man moved in downstairs and started off as being nice and friendly. However, it soon became apparent that he wanted to be more than friends. The elderly lady was not interested. She tried to remain polite and aloof, but this is not what he wanted, although he denied it. It was odd that a man of his age would be so insistent. She treated him with disdain and stuck her little nose up in the air. He lived in the flat below her and complained about everything she did. She continued to ignore him. The flat had been occupied for some time. She wondered why. She soon found out. So, in the first scene, Lucy's sitting in the garden when he arrives. He's an innocuous-looking person. Nothing special, just a bloke. However, within days, it became obvious that he thought he was God's gift to women, which is a bit sad, really. Anyway, Hitler, aka the scheme coordinator, she features quite a lot. And me, the snob from the back of Brock Bay, thought she was a gently English woman. She was no such thing. And Jacko, he thought he was God's gift to women and delusions of grandeur. So in the Act 1, then, Hitler said, "Have you seen the new man?" Lucy said, "Yes, I was sitting painting in the garden." Hitler said, "What do you think?" Lucy said, "Nothing, I'm more interested in my plant pots, thank you." Oh, it became obvious why this guy had come to this particular fold. First, he tried to chat up another lady who was an 82-year-old widow of a gentleman farmer. Then, behold, it was my turn. Goodness, he had a cork board, which was surplus to requirements. I like cork boards, they're quite useful actually. You can stick all sorts of things on cork boards. So he said, I have this cork board, would you like it? Lucy said, "That would be nice, thank you very much." It fitted perfectly in the alcove above the kitchen. It looked great and I could put all my notes on it. Wonderful, including the research from the plant pots at a later date. So the plant pots were quite already thought of at that specific time. After a few days, Lucy realised that he'd like to have a cigarette in the garden about 8:30, relaxing, enjoying his surroundings. That's nice, Lucy thought. The old man finally at peace in a nice surroundings and never wondered about his background. It was a coffee morning. I'd already met some of the residents who I dubbed inmates. Jacko had brought a friend who was on the board of the housing association. The coffee mornings were held in a spacious common room which had a piano, nice, a TV, and a small kitchen which the inmates were not allowed to use. The TV was removed fairly quickly, actually, and it got sold off. Goodness knows where the money went, no idea. So then it was April 22, 2021, and the elderly lady decided she'd get some daffodil bulbs and plant them in pots under her bedroom window. The little fat policeman threatened to shoot at them with his little gun. She put the plants on her windowsills. She's told to remove them in case they fall down and hit someone on the head. She pointed out that they were tied down. It made no difference to these oiks. They were still dangerous, in inverted commas. If they had brains, they would be dangerous. That's certainly true. So the old lady refused to move them. and watered them regularly, making sure the seat below got wet so Jack would get a wet bum when he came out for a cup of tea. Ever the strategist, he watered them just before tea time, and just before the time he would sit on the seat. So it was actually quite amusing. So on we go then, thank you.